let's talk about the difference between a local brokerage versus an international or national brokerage. I started off as a local brokerage, and then now I'm with an international brokerage. Here's a few benefits you may want to consider when you switch. If you do, first, you're going to get a bigger brand power. And if a client's moving from one state or city to another, or one country to another, if they see that you're in multiple cities, multiple countries, they're going to be a lot more comfortable with you. The second thing you do is you get the tools and systems from that big business scaled down to you. One example is, like, there's a software that I use that costs $500 a month. Because I'm affiliated with this specific broker, I get that tool for less than $80 a month, because they bought 60,000 of those, licenses, and they basically can give them to the agents at a significant discount. They just pass along the savings. Third, you get access to referrals from around the world. So some of us are already referring business back and forth here within the Kingdom Real Estate Agents group. I'm actually looking for a Kingdom real estate agent in Park City, Utah, if anyone knows of one, for myself, considering a second home there. And if anyone knows of a Kingdom real estate agent, that's one of my and my wife's life goals, is to purchase a home there. So we're going to start that conversation and set some goals for that. So if anyone knows of a great Kingdom real estate agent. So the idea is that if I don't get something referred from our group, then I'll go into my brokerage. We have a board where we can post referral opportunities. And I'm hoping someone will reach out to me, but I'd much rather have a Kingdom real estate agent do that. And lastly, you can participate in national events and seminars that only people usually in your brokerage can be affiliated with. So those are all things that I would do to consider a local versus a national brokerage. Okay, so the next affiliation we're going to talk about is a team or partner. So once you've affiliated with a great brokerage, you should also consider joining another agent's team if you haven't done that already. If you're a newer agent, I highly recommend getting on a team and then learning how that system works of selling and buying homes in a market. If you're an individual agent, you have to learn a lot on your own. If you're on a team, a lot of those things are going to be done for you. Now, obviously, the upside is going to be help, the downside and leads. The downside is probably going to be that you're going to have to give up maybe half of your commission on a sale to that team leader. And some people get upset about this and they think, well, that's crazy. It's a waste of money or time or whatever. I can tell you from my own personal perspective, 0% of something is not as good as 50% of something. So if you aren't making sales, then 50% of something, doesn't make a lot of sense, obviously, because you're not making any money, or 100%. But if you're on a team and you're splitting 50-50 and they're helping you with leads and lead generation and getting your sale process and having a transaction coordinator, all that, then that might be more appropriate for you. Okay, so the National Association of Realtors is a trade association. So the next affiliation strategy we're going to talk about are trade associations. There's many of them. The National Association of Realtors is usually the first one that people join. You're getting a free magazine every month. You get discounts. You get like Avis or one of the car rental places. You get, I think it's 20% off. You're also going to get healthcare like discounts, and there's a whole bunch of other things. Like when you go buy a car, I think Lexus has a special deal with them. Verizon, through my Verizon account, I expense that through my business every month, and then I basically tell them I'm associated with the National Association of Realtors. I think I get a discount through Verizon as well. So that is a trade association. They also have their own events that you can go to, and they also have educational opportunities. And a lot of people like to be affiliated with the brand because they have commercials and advertising. As far as I know, you don't have to be a realtor, which is the National Association of Realtors. You can just be a real estate agent in a lot of cities and states. In our city and state, they highly recommend that you're part of the National Association of Realtors, your state association of Realtors, and then a local board of association. So one of the things that I like to do is talk about our local board. So we have one that's like a regional board around the greater Cincinnati area. It's called the Southern Ohio Association of Realtors, or SOAR, which is the acronym. And so when I first got started in the real estate business, I went to the orientation, which everyone's required to do. And then they have people there from the different parts of the organization that are volunteers. And they would say, this is what I do. I'm part of the education committee. I'm part of the technology committee. I'm part of the government committee. I'm part of the MLS committee, whatever. So there's all these different things. And then they would try to recruit people that are new agents and say, hey, do you have any interest in any of these groups? And I was like, well, I'm really into technology, so maybe I'll sit in on a committee meeting. So I went in and sat in on a committee meeting. And the truth is, and they would tell you the same thing, this is not a disparaging comment, I knew more than everybody in the room about technology, and they were so far behind. We had this really clunky old website for the board. We had really no communication standards. There was no good emailing going out on behalf of the board. So this was back in like 2004, 2005, so a long time ago. And so they said, Derek, can you please be on our technology committee? Okay, sure. And the next thing you know, I'm like the committee chair. And then the next thing you know, they're like, they have me going to the board meetings and reporting to them what we want to do as a committee, because we had money as part of the association, but they didn't have the expertise. So then the next thing you know is they asked me if I could be a director on the board of the Southern Ohio Association of Realtors. I was like, sure, I'll do that. And then the next thing you know, they asked me if I could become the vice president. And the next thing you know, they said, we want to elect you as the next president of the board of realtors. So within about 7 years, 8 years, 6 years, I think it was, from the first day I went to a meeting to the day I was president, it was like 5 years. And then what happens is after you've served 1 year term as a president, then they want you to be the immediate past president and stay on as an advisor. And then once that year's over, they want you to stay on as a director. So this is a multiple year commitment. I did all that. And so you might be asking, Derek, how does that have anything to do with leveraging the real estate business? Well, here's what I can tell you. I got so many relationships out of that. Now, relationships with other real estate agents, and these are now friends of mine, right? So you spend all this time volunteering, you learn, and I got to contribute a lot of positively to help advance the group, right? Like the association itself, I feel like it's in a better situation now than it was 15 or 17 years ago when I first joined. And so my point to you is that the affiliations lever, it goes several ways. It helped me with building relationships with other agents, which have come in handy many, many times, is giving me favor for my clients. So let's just say you're in a multiple offer situation and your offer is pretty equal to another agent's offer. Well, this other agent has no relationship at all with the listing agent, the buyer. So you got two buyers agents competing for one listing with their buyers, and you have one listing agent. If your listing agent knows you and you've served with them and volunteered with them on a board, then basically what you're going to find is that you're going to get a little favor, right? You're going to be like, hey, Derek, you guys are pretty equal. If you guys could, get your closing costs down, or if you could get that price up by $1,000, or if you could, reduce the number of days of the inspection by a couple days, or if you could take that home warranty out and pay for it, or if you could, remove the title insurance clause, or if you could, you got all these things you could do. If you just tweak this here and there, we got a deal. So then I get that relationship. Now, the great thing is they trust me because they've worked with me and they volunteered with me, and they've seen that I'm not just out all about the money, right? I'm helping the association out. So that's a lever you may not be thinking about, but you definitely should. All right, let's talk about, so you have your state board. So I talked about the National Association of Realtors, your local board, but there's one in between. It's usually your state board. A lot of people will start with the local board and they, become a director or president. They become an ambassador basically to the state board, and then they get to help make state decisions. If that's your calling and you're into that, great. I didn't want to spend that much time outside of my own city working on the state issues. I don't have a strong call for like government. And it felt like more of like a governmental position, almost like a political type of appointment. And I just wanted to be, focused on my local market. But I'm sure I could have gained a lot of leverage on the state level, and maybe even, gone ahead to the national level It just wasn't something that I was personally interested in. So, all right, let's talk about the next affiliation, and that is chamber and networking groups. So I'm really, really thankful. I've been part of two major, actually three now, chambers of commerce, the county one, and then a city one, and then now part of another city where I've moved a little bit throughout my lifetime. The what I can tell you is that similar to the story of the Southern Ohio Association of Realtors, I was also promoted from just a guy attending meetings at the city, and then they asked me to sit in on one of the committees. Then I became the committee chair. Then I became the board of directors guy sitting, and then they asked me to be vice president, president, then immediate past president. Sound familiar? And here's the funny part of the story, guys. I did those at the same time. So I was the president of two different groups, volunteer groups at the same time. And that was in addition to, I think at the time I was coaching basketball for my kids, running the business, and I got 5 kids. It was one of the busiest seasons of my life. So the same kind of net stories though came out. I can tell you that I built all kinds of warm relationships in my community. I learned who the mayors were and how to interact with them and how to get things done in a government level. And then I was introduced to a lot of other business owners and people. And when you're not saying, hey, I'm a real estate agent, you're just saying, hey, I'm a president of the board. There's not like this, like, oh, he's going to try to sell me something. It was just like, hey, I'm here to help. And then what happened is they said, well, what do you do for a living? Because they understood that was a volunteer position. And I would say, I'm a real estate agent. And they're like, well, my mom's going to sell her house here in the city. Can you help her? And I can just tell you right now, over the 10 years or so that I served on the city chamber of commerce, I probably earned, and this is probably a low estimate, $120,000 worth of commission dollars. And so you might be like, man, Derek, that's a lot of time to spend and this and that. But I can tell you what, I mean, obviously the intrinsic benefits outweigh the money, but it was nice to also, and I'm still getting referrals. I literally have a sale pending today from a relationship that I built through the Chamber of Commerce, and I retired from that position about 3 years ago. So I'm still getting calls and referrals. And I actually sold another home this year from another former mayor of that city who remembered me from that time. So I can tell you right now that those affiliations are great leverage for you. So build your community, which is part of our Kingdom Real Estate Agents mission statement. Is our mission is to have agents build their clients and communities with excellence to the glory of God. So, and we do this through encouraging and equipping agents. So I said that kind of backwards, but we encourage and equip agents to serve their clients and communities with excellence to the glory of God. So I had to memorize my own my own mission statement here. So that's the mission statement of Kingdom Real Estate Agents. So how are you going to serve your clients and community with excellence? Well, this is a great way to do that. And you can actually do both. So I actually have also had the situation where, because of my affiliation with the city through the Chamber of Commerce, I was able to get some things done for a client who may not have normally gotten something done, because I knew the people at the county and the city that would actually be the ones making the decisions to help somebody out. And I can tell you, even there was a major school district in the area, in the top positions, I've dealt with those people and actually helped them buy and sell homes as well. So I can tell you that it does go a long way. All right, so let's go to the next one here. It's called, we're going to call this online groups. Now, a lot of people think about social media. This is a huge lever in your life, but how do you use the leverage of social media for an affiliation for your business? Well, first of all, there's tons and tons and tons. There's probably millions of groups out there that have interests that you might be interested in, like 434 Agents, Kingdom Real Estate Agents, School of Kingdom, 100X. I mean, just off the top of my head, there's a few associations. There's also one called Lab Coat Agents that's just for real estate agents that are trying to get technology incorporated into their business. Find some groups that you know are going to help you and affiliate yourself with those groups, and then start networking within those groups. That was one of the benefits we named earlier. Now, I'm just going to give you one example of one group I was part of. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I joined this group called 100X. Okay. And great people there. I met so many great contacts. During the last 3 to 4 years, um, I have gone to 3 of their conferences. So not only the online, but actually going physically to the conference. I built even deeper relationships with people that I met online. And then that's kind of where the first book came from on this journey that I went from being a real estate agent to a team leader to a kind of owning my own office, and now to coaching and writing books. I saw this transition of other people that were doing that as entrepreneurs in this group. And I thought, well, I can do that too. And I was already kind of doing it, but not at a great level. So through the affiliation of that organization and the people that I met, and I learned some structure around how to do like a website funnel and do, online classes and things like that I had never done before. So I credit some of my knowledge, skills, and abilities to that group and to the people I met. And I'm still working. I've got like 4 or 5 people I work with regularly. I met Jeff Lewis, for example, through that group. And then he helped bring me into our current brokerage that we're in as well. So there's all kinds of connections that happen as part of these online affiliations. So let me ask you this. What are some other types of affiliations that you are associated with? Church and school. Okay, so Brandy says she uses church and school as affiliations, and actually those are excellent examples. I have, you don't want to like hand business cards out at church, so to speak, but when people see that you show up all the time, that you contribute, you volunteer, you're helping watch their kids in children's church, you're doing vacation Bible school, you're there between services and you're cleaning up or ushering, or you're just talking, and you're not just some scumbag jumping in there and trying to network inside of a church. People will definitely appreciate that. And over time, I've probably made $100,000 plus from deals of people I've met through church. I mean, I haven't counted, but it's at least that much money. So there's real fruit in those affiliations out there. Brandy also says online mom groups. That's excellent, because I know a lot of people that have referred me into the moms groups. I'm not even a mom, obviously, but they'll say something like, hey, I know this guy, he's a great real estate agent in the area, and they post me in the moms groups as well. So, but if you are a mom and that's something that you can get affiliated with, I would definitely do that. And the last one, you said school. I've also sold a lot of homes through my affiliation, through my 5 kids, through their school. So they're basically just being at the PTA meetings or the carnival, the fundraisers. I'm actually going to write that down for a future class, because that's a good reminder, because I always forget about school as an affiliation. And then some people send their kids to a private school just to get kind of a different network of people. So I think that those are all good. I'm going to write down the moms group too, because I think that's a great add-on to my class in the future. Thank you, Brandy. Yeah, shopping, so if you go to a certain restaurant, or there was actually another one I just remembered is we used to go to this wine tasting event regularly. And I started meeting people through there, just because you're having a fun time and casual and whatever. People knew me as the real estate guy in the room. So I would get all the questions on that. All right, so here's some more I've got for you. So if none of those associations really made you excited, here's some extra ones. Okay, so one is investor groups. So in our city, we have something called the Cincinnati Investment Real Estate Association, and you can go there and you find other investors and you do networking. They have lenders, hard money lenders, regular lenders. They have inspectors, appraisers, vendors. They have people that do wholesaling, and they usually have some kind of class. So you can become part of that association, and then you will make money and you will get contacts out of it. I mean, that's direct real estate interaction. Another one is small groups, like at your church. So we talked about a little church, but if you actually are part of a small group and everyone gets to know each other and you're affiliated as the real estate person in that group, the likelihood is if someone in that group decides to move or buy a home, they're probably going to talk to you first. Another one here is the BNI groups. I know people that have made a ton of money over the years on BNIs. I'm not personally ever been associated with one, but I've heard that if you get involved with one, you're like the exclusive realtor, then they have an exclusive, dentist, and exclusive this, and they break their groups into like little pods, and there's only one insurance agent, one, et cetera, in that group. So that might be another one to consider. Another one here, guys, is homeowners association and neighborhood association. So my mom is actually part of a homeowners association in her community. And because of the affiliation in that group, whenever somebody is ready to go buy or sell, she always says, hey, you should call my son. He's a great agent. So even though I'm not personally in that group, I have an inside that group. And if you join your own group and you do some volunteering, you could become the president of your own neighborhood association. That's a great way to secure future business. Another one here, guys, is the Kingdom Real Estate Agents Group. So just being affiliated with us, the prayer covering, the knowledge, skills, abilities, the networking, the ability to refer business back and forth. That's one I hope that all of you guys take advantage of. The next one is school. Actually, I wrote yours down because that's so good. School and moms groups. Yes, those are good. Okay, guys, here's a question for you. So we're 35 minutes into this. We've got a few extra minutes left. I'm going to ask, what are some practical next steps that you're going to take now that you've learned about the power of affiliation? One tip I can give you here, guys, is don't expect a result tomorrow out of this. Just like everything else that we're learning about in these series of classes, it's very rare that you're going to join the PTO and the next day you're going to get a listing, right? This takes time. Just like in my examples I gave you, like the one group I was in for 7 years, another group for 10 years. These things do take time. Now, did I have to wait 10 years to get my first deal? No, but I don't want to mislead anyone to think that, that you're just going to jump in and immediately start harvesting. You have to plant the seeds, you got to water the seeds, you got to grow the seeds, and then you can harvest them in someday future. The truth is that if you rush through the beginning part of that, you probably will never harvest anything. One of the top questions I always get is, Derek, how did you sell so many homes in your career? Like, how did you make so much money selling homes all these years? I mean, honestly, that's number one, number two question. And what they don't see is that a lot of these strategies I'm giving you take time. And it's not like a get rich quick plan, but if you really want to succeed in this business in the long term, and you want to keep building your business to sustain income, you have to build it on a solid foundation, right? The kingdom is a solid foundation. Principles that are in the Bible are solid foundations. These things that I'm giving you are, you could basically find roots and trace a lot of this back to kingdom principles and Proverbs and, Psalms and things like that. And even Jesus talks about, a lot of these kind of principles, not these specific things. Like obviously social media wasn't around then, but you get what I'm saying. All right. So now that you've written down what you're going to do, I want you to commit that to God and say, God, I want you to bless this activity. And then I want you, if you can, just send me a note. And once you've done this week as an accountability step, to say, hey, Derek, this week I joined my homeowners association. This week I found a new group online for moms, whatever that is, and tell me how that's going to help you towards your goals. So it's a little accountability step. Do that for me.